Welcome to my channel, and in this video I'm going to show you how to work with Docker volumes. And what you're looking at is basically two terminal sessions, both of them connected to an AWS EC2 instance, and basically I have installed Docker on this EC2 instance, and this EC2 instance is based on Amazon Linux version 2, and I've installed Docker on it and I have got it going. And if you can actually see the Docker daemon process running, okay, so that's all good. But first, actually I want to show you like the default way of creating a container. So my containers, the containers I'm going to create are based on an image called CentOS. So that's like CentOS operating system. It's a Linux based operating system. So it's a simple command called docker run and some parameters like for interactive mode and terminal and the name of the container and then image, right? So this is like, you might be familiar with this command. Okay, so now we are inside the container, so I'm going to go ahead and create a file called date.txt. so if I do a echo date, and this gives us the current date, right? And I'm going to forward it to a file called date.txt. okay, now I'm going to exit out, and this stops the container. And now I'm actually going to remove the container by running this command docker remove, and the name of the container is container1. Now I'm going to create the container again, and this time I'm going to just try getting to this file using cat command, and the file doesn't exist, and this is because when you destroy a container, all the data that was in the container is gone. The data is temporary if you create the container in sort of like a default mode where volumes are not used. Okay, I'm going to exit out of it, and I will go ahead and remove the container as well. Now next, so on the right hand side, this session, I'm going to first create a volume called, I'm going to create a volume called my data. Okay, so and that's the command you use for creating volumes, docker volume create my data. And I will be creating a container again, and this time I'm going to be using some more options or parameters. As you can see here, I'm using this mount option, and I'm saying source equals my data, and then destination equals home directory. So my volume, the volume that I created, is mapped to /home directory, which is inside the container. So I'm creating the container with a certain volume. Then I will be doing the same thing as I did 2 minutes ago, which is create a file with the current date, and we can just do a check. Okay, now I'm going to exit out of this container, and now the container is stopped, and because as you can see, the container is not showing up in this output. Now I'm going to remove the container as I did before, and I'm going to use the same command to create this container again. As you can see here, the file is still available. So the file or the data persisted over a destroy, right? So this is the main benefit of using Docker volumes. Now let me show you a few more options that a few more things that you can do with Docker volumes actually. So let me clear it up. So I'm going to go ahead and remove this container as well. Okay, so the next thing I want to show you is that, okay, let's say I have this directory which is home EC2 directory, EC2 user directory, which is on the EC2 instance, correct? And all the containers have been cleared. So I am going to create another text file called hello world, and I'm going to redirect that output to, let's say, a file called dummy. And this time what I want to do is I will create a container. So this is actually called bind mount, where you basically map a certain specific directory on your EC2 instance to a directory on the container or inside the container, right? As I'm mapping home EC2 user to home directory inside the container. And do remember that I created a file called dummy inside this file system or inside this directory. So the container is created, and I'm going to go to this home, and if I do ls, you can see that there's multiple files, and if I'm not wrong, this file already exists in this home EC2 user. But basically this is the file that we created. We can check the content of this file, and then if I exit again and if I just do a ls here, you can see the same 3 files. So basically this directory was mapped to a directory inside the container. So this is called bind mount. So Docker recommends using Docker volumes rather than bind mounts, and they have mentioned a few advantages of using Docker volumes over bind mounts, but we're not going to go into that in this video. I will maybe make another video for it. Okay, now I am going to be creating another container called container4 actually, using the same command, and I will be mounting this my data volume to /home directory which is inside the container, and it's based on CentOS again. So let's go ahead and do this, and here I will create a file called shared file inside the home directory. So let me just put a echo and line written by container4, and I'm going to create it in home, and I'm going to call this shared file. So the name of the file is not important, but I just created a file. So let's keep it running. So now on this side I'm going to create a similar container but just with a different name. So, and based on the same volume and the CentOS image. So I'm mounting the same volume to /home directory which is inside this container, and again it's based on CentOS. So let's go ahead and run this. Now if I do a cat of this file, this is actually coming from the other container, right? This line came from the other container, and this file, it was created using a different container. and now it is shared with this container 5. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to try writing to this file on container 5, which is this, and that, right? So now let me cat it again. So I have two lines here. One line is written by container 4, the other one is written by container 5, which we just did. So I'm going to go here and just cat that file. See, now the same file is accessed by this container 4. So both container 4 and container 5 are able to see this file. So this volume, my data volume, is shared between these two containers. So that's exactly what I wanted to show. Now I'm going to exit out of this guy, and I'm going to create another container called container 6, and while mounting the volume I'm just going to give this RO option, and I'll tell you what that is in a second. So we are creating a container called container 6, and let me see if I can see this file inside this container. So the container, in this container we can see the file, but what is different about this container? So let me try to write a line to this file. As usual, just do a echo, and let me just redirect the output to this file. As you can see, this file, we are getting an error saying this is a read-only file system. Why? Because we added this RO option, R for read, O for only. So read-only option. So now we are not able to write to that file. So all three containers are able to share this volume, but you can make this volume like read only and then mount it to certain containers. So that way this container can only read the data from the files in that volume and cannot like write to those files. Thank you. I will see you guys in my next video, and please like, share and subscribe to my videos, and yeah, just keep supporting and keep rocking. See you guys.